I'm going to ask you guys a serious question. What is the most gangster call out in the history of the UFC, right? I think people are going to go like, oh, I think, Conor calling out Aldo or whatever. I mean, you could think of anything. If I ask that question, you have an open board that you can basically fill with whatever you want. There's lots of gangster call outs. I am going to say right now, Tom Aspinall has the most gangster one of all time. Just after the fight. Not in the octagon, but in the post-fight speech that I just watched. And apparently, Jon Jones responded, and his response is very bizarre. Like, it's a weird response, in my opinion. Like a really weird response. But I'm going to go through all of those. But I'm going to lead off with something that I would say is the fly in the ointment in the heavyweight division, and also demonstrates a point that everyone who cares about the mixed martial arts world should be very aware of. This is really important. I'm going to go right off the bat to that story. And here's exactly what it is. Think about this. What did Joe Rogan say about Francis Ngannou leaving the UFC? What has everyone in the know said about guys who leave the UFC and why you would potentially take less money to fight in UFC? It's about relevance. It's about the impression of your career, and it's also just about like marketing and all that. So think about this, okay? Think about this. Francis Ngannou was the undisputed heavyweight champion. Stipe Miocic, GOAT heavyweight. He starched him like sleeping for 20 minutes unconscious. And it made it look easy. And then he beat Cyril Gane with a torn MCL. A torn MCL. I know this to be 100% true. Torn MCL, and he still won that fight, okay? And right now, you have Tom Aspinall, who is running through guys and looks unbeatable. I didn't even think about this when I did my live stream earlier. I did kind of a slow brain, live stream earlier, and I didn't even think about this. The fact, because I said it is possible that Tom Aspinall could end up going down as the most dominant heavyweight champion ever, and in the conversation, or the GOAT of the heavyweight division, because he's already beat everybody. If he beats Jon Jones, what's he got? Jon Jones, maybe Stipe, if Stipe beat Jon Jones. And I like him in both those fights. It's a very real possibility. He is unreal. The guy's unreal. I'm going to talk about him more later in the video. But Francis Ngannou, no one has even mentioned him. Like, no one's even mentioned him. Think about that for a second. I'm serious. Like, actually think about that. Like, he got to go. I'm not saying he made the wrong decision. He went and did the Tyson Fury fight, had his moment of glory where, regardless of what happened in the Anthony Joshua fight, he fought Tyson Fury, which was the ultimate goal. And a lot of people think he won that fight. Knocked him down, shocked the world. But now when he comes back to his bread and butter after, I would say an inevitable outcome where he got, dominated by a really, really vicious boxer, so now he's coming back to his wheelhouse. And what's happened? He left UFC and literally no one has even mentioned his name, which is insane. Like that, it just absolutely proves the point without any shred of doubt that is a fact. You leave UFC and your relevance becomes very, very low in mixed martial arts. It just is what it is, dude. Doesn't matter if you're in ONE FC, doesn't matter if you're in PFL, you're just not going to be seen in the same conversation as the top guys in the UFC, even when everyone can just objectively look and go, dude, because I'm going to tell you right now, Francis is a problem for Tom Aspinall. He is a problem for Tom Aspinall. I mean, he's a problem for everyone. But Tom Aspinall, what's his one, like where you watch him and you see, you're like, the only place I could see him getting beat is he leaves his head up, dude, because he's so aggressive and he's got his head up. Dude, if Francis touched that face, he is unconscious. No one on planet Earth can eat a shot from Francis Ngannou. It's not possible. I'm telling you that right now. I remember one of the first metaphors that when I first started my channel, and because I was hot on Francis way long ago. I started the channel in 2020, and I remember saying this like within the first month of starting the channel, and it holds true. It's like guys that are in the organization, and you go, man, that guy's got an iron chin, right? The guy can eat shots, dude. Wow. Some guys have bad chins, some guys have iron chins. It just is what it is. But 100% of them, if they're walking on a construction site and a crane breaks and falls on their head, they're all going to die or be unconscious, right? Like there is a certain threshold of impact that a person and weight, like a person can't eat it. It doesn't matter. Like your chin is totally irrelevant. Francis, in my opinion, eclipses that. I don't believe there's a human on earth that can eat a straight shot from him in an MMA glove. If it lands flush, they're unconscious. No one can eat one of those shots, dude. No one. And I mean, listen, dude, I realize everybody's going to say like, oh, well, Tom Aspinall will just take him down. If you think Francis doesn't have wrestling, that's just not accurate. Now, Tom Aspinall would definitely be the toughest wrestling test for him, but nonetheless. And you know what? It doesn't even matter. We don't even need to break it down because the point I made is true. It doesn't matter. It straight up does not matter. And I thought that was very important to note. Like, Francis is going to come back and he's going to fight soon, and I will always be a massive Francis fan. But when it comes to this conversation, that's just a fact. All right, so moving along, we also are going to talk about Tom Aspinall being the backup fighter for Stipe versus Jon Jones. Stipe should be very careful about what he eats or drinks that week, And I'm not talking about the organization. I'm saying like some fan, some psycho fan that's like, I got to see Jon Jones versus Tom. And they're working at the hotel where Stipe's at. They're all, here, slip a little something in his food so he's violently sick. You know that happened to Michael Jordan. That really happened against the Utah Jazz. The fan of the Utah Jazz poisoned Michael Jordan's pizza. That's 100% fact. Truth. Fact. Okay? He was pooping himself and throwing up because anyway. So that's a real story. Like if anybody really wants to see that Tom Aspinall Jon Jones fight, you can make it happen. I'm not suggesting you do that, but Stipe should be careful. But nonetheless, so we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to talk about the Tom Aspinall's call out, which is the most gangster call out ever. And then Jon Jones' response. Then we'll go to the backup status, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, check this out, dude. How gangster is this?
Tom Aspinall proposes a one-night heavyweight tournament at UFC 309. Tom says him versus Alex Pereira and Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. The winners fight each other.
Here's a thought for you. I was thinking about this the other day. What about, so they're saying that Stipe and Jon Jones are going to fight in MSG in November. Why don't we do a tournament? We'll do Jon, Stipe, me, Alex, and do a 4-man tournament, 2 fights in one night. And let's find out who the real heavyweight champion of the world is. Like, we've got the best heavyweight of all time. We've got the best MMA fighter of all time. We've got the light heavyweight champion. And then we've got me, who's just a poxy interim champion. You know what I mean? Let's do that 2 fights in one night. Put it to Dana. I'm sure Dana's going to be here in a minute. And he's been.
Dana didn't really like the idea of him moving up.
No, I don't. I am honestly the biggest fan of Alex Pereira. He is one scary guy.
Who isn't, dude? Who isn't? And I'm just going to say one more time for the people in the back, the fact that Poatan does not speak English, it's the one time that I'm like, don't learn English. Don't ever do it. The fact that you have no idea what he's saying and he looks the way he does is just like, it's absolute marketing gold, dude.
Well, that'll be a cool little thing. 2 fights in one night. Let's see how we get on. I mean, I've got the lowest average fight time in the UFC, and it's even lower after tonight. Like, my chances of doing all right and that are pretty good. Like, let's put some money on the table and let's see who the guy is at heavyweight.
Okay, so was I wrong? Because here's the thing. First of all, I love how he says, you got the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. You got the best MMA fighter of all time. You've got the light heavyweight champion, and you got me, just some little poxy interim champion. I don't think I should have much of a chance. That is so gangster because that he absolutely believes that he's going to win that tournament, and so do I, right? Like, that's a real call out right there. I mean, the UFC's not going to do it, but if they did, Tom would agree to that in 1 second, and he would. Do you think Jon Jones would agree to that? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you think that these other guys would agree to that? Okay, Alex would. Poatan for sure would. And Tom Aspinall would. Stipe and Jon Jones are not going to agree to that. And I'm not saying they're crazy for not doing it, but right out of the gate, you're like, okay, so we got the 2 biggest gangsters right there, and I'm right. I'm right about that. And who are you going to bet on, dude? One of those 2 probably, right? In all seriousness, like, out of that tournament, is anyone going to bet on either Stipe or Jon Jones? I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't win it, but my bet for 100% sure is on either Tom Aspinall or Pereira. And, you got to go Tom Aspinall. And he knows it too. And so I just think that was like, if it was just like a stupid call out that he wouldn't do, then you'd be all, okay, whatever. But he means it. He absolutely would do that. And it's a gangster ass call out, man. That's just all there is to it. Now, I want to show you guys this weird response that Jon Jones gave, Jon Jones breaks silence on Tom Aspinall. And I'm like, all right, so what, you know what I mean? Like, what, let's hear about it. So here it is.
Jon Jones has reacted to Tom Aspinall's victory over Curtis Blaydes last night. Last night, Jon was receiving some flack over this post on X. Jon posted this last month. He wrote, "I'm telling you guys, film study is one of my great strengths. If Curtis wants by knockout or ground and pound, I would not be surprised."
Okay, so first of all, I just want to comment on that. My opinion, that was a crazy call, number one. And I'm not saying that with the benefit of hindsight. I would have said that before. In all honesty, I actually would have been more confident that I was right before the fight than after, just because, Curtis did touch Tom a little bit. Tom's like a little bit more open with his head than I realized. But the ground and pound, whatever. Like, did you study Curtis Blaydes or did you only study Tom Aspinall? Because if we watched Curtis Blaydes fight, you would know that when he gets touched on the side of his head, he's got like a glass side of the head. Francis knocked him out that way twice. He is very like hittable, or I'm sorry, very knockoutable if he gets hit. And Tom Aspinall has failed to hit who? He's hit everybody, But nonetheless, I would imagine, that Tom Aspinall said that he bet that Jon Jones was hoping that he lost, and I'm not sure one way or the other. But anyway, so check this out, though.
Now, today, Jon posted this. He wrote, "Supply and demand at its finest. I love it."
What exactly does that mean? Now, I paused it and thought about it, and I actually think that I know what he probably means, and I really hope that I'm right. Because what Jon Jones has been saying all along is that no one wants to see Tom Aspinall fight. Like, that he's not a big draw. No one cares. And he wasn't necessarily wrong. I mean, if you're like, because the thing is, sometimes you got to remember that us, me, and any of you guys that are watching this, we're the same. I mean, just bottom line, if you watch my channel, I guarantee you and I are the same. The only difference is that you do not have a studio built in your bathroom. I'm just kidding. That's an inside joke for my live streamers. But, we're psychotic about mixed martial arts. So we know exactly who Tom Aspinall is. If you go to Johnny Schmo on the street and you were like, "Hey, so did you hear Jon Jones is fighting whatever?" All of them are like, "Oh, Jon Jones is fighting." If you were like, "Hey, do you know Tom Aspinall's fighting?" They're like, Tom Aspinall. And that's not his fault. It's just a younger career, right? He hasn't had a breakout moment. And so Jon Jones, he's not wrong, right? But all of us know how good he is and how dangerous he is. So all of us are like, Jon's just being scared, right? But supply and demand, if his point is that now there's a lot more demand for this fight, then he's like, I'll take it, right? Well, like, that's the only thing. Like, that's what I believe he means. Because what else could he possibly? Supply and demand at its finest. What else could he mean? But supply and demand at its finest, the only way I can read that is, okay, people want this fight, then let's get this done, right? Do you guys think I'm crazy? I'm seriously asking. Like, you think that that's a crazy interpretation? Because I don't. You know what I mean? Obviously, I don't. I just said it. But okay, so now let's finish this up with the news that Tom Aspinall is going to be the backup for that fight, and then I will reiterate the main point I was going to make, which is like some aggressive fan could make that fight happen unless Stipe is very vigilant. And I say this actually just being like, Stipe, like, just be careful, because that actually happened to Jon Jones, and there's a lot of crazy ass fans that would do stuff like that.
Dana White says Tom Aspinall will 100% be the backup fighter for Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Dana also spoke on the idea of Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira. He doesn't seem to like it.
Jon and Stipe is November. Jon keeps saying.
Does anybody really need an explanation on why Dana doesn't like Pereira and Tom Aspinall? Because I can tell you that absolutely for sure. What's on my face? Oh my God, my face! Really? I'm not re-recording this. I don't care. Even if I had like pizza all over the side of my face, which would be really weird, I'm not starting over. So that's what's up, dude. That's what's up, dude. I'm not starting over, yo. I'm not doing it. You can't make me. I'm not doing it. Hey, I don't care what you say about my face. See, you guys are never going to see this because I'm going to edit it out. But nonetheless, people are like, Jesse, how are you so good at like talking back and forth like you're having a conversation? Oh, it's just because I am constantly doing that with myself. Thank you for asking. All the time? All the time. That sounds absolutely batshit crazy. You would be about the 650,000th person to tell me I'm batshit crazy. So what do you know about that? Slim line between genius and insanity. Did you just call yourself a genius? No. Yes. Jesus. If I put together all the shit that I've edited out of these videos like that, people would just be like, oh, wow, this dude is actually fucking crazy. And they'd be right. But you'll never know because I edited it out. Anyway, where was I? I don't even remember what I was talking about. I like legit don't remember what I was talking about. What the fuck was I talking about? Anyway, Pereira and Tom Aspinall. The reason that they are not going to make that fight is because of something I was saying in my live stream about Makayev, right? Like, you know, him getting fired at age 23 when he's undefeated is crazy because of the lifetime, like the amount of value they could get out of him if he has a really long career is enormous. Here's the deal. You also have to protect the guys who are marketable. Okay. You don't have very many. You have very few guys that are marketable, and you can only like to a certain extent control who the champion is. Right. So like when guys take forever to get a title shot when they clearly have deserved it per their resume, there's a reason for that. It's because they're not marketable. This is not rocket science. This is very, very simple. This is business. Okay. So like Bilal Muhammad having to wait as long as he did to get his title shot, that is a direct result of that. And the way that the UFC knows is actually through things like YouTube views. You know, there are all kinds of analytics related to like Google searches and YouTube views and all that stuff that they know exactly how marketable people are. Right. And if you're more marketable than, you know, and you need to protect those guys' marketability. And Tom Aspinall is their meal ticket at heavyweight right now. Because you still do have Francis Ngannou kind of roaming around out there. If Francis, you know, rattles off a couple PFL wins, it's not like he's really that big of a threat because he's going to be beating people that people don't see as like a, you know, a viable competitor or whatever. Viable, that's not the right way to say that. You know what I mean? But Tom Aspinall has huge potential. Think how big of a star Bisping is. And I mean, or is, but was also. You know, like Tom Aspinall can be a long-term UK heavyweight champion who finishes fights in 90 seconds every time. Like that is UK market is real deal, dude. And so, and Pereira has all of Brazil on his back. He has everyone on his back. Who is not a fan of Alex Pereira? Like, I'm serious. If you're not a fan of Alex Pereira, put in the comments and explain exactly why. Because I wouldn't understand it. I mean, you know, being a fan of this fighter or that fighter is just, you know, how you feel. But I can't understand how a person could be a fan of the sport and not be a fan of Alex Pereira, straight up, you know? And so what happens if you put those two guys against each other? One of them loses. Bottom, you know, and their marketability goes down significantly and their confidence goes down significantly. You're putting, I mean, there's like, they're not going to do that fight. They're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it for that exact reason. It is a 100% certainty to be a net loss for the organization because of what I just laid out. The only way that they do it is if both guys completely clear out their divisions and just leave absolutely no other options. Because if you really think about it, when they do title holder versus title holder in almost every single case, it might be every case actually. I think it is actually every single case. You have one marketable fighter and one unmarketable fighter, or two unmarketable fighters. You have zero examples where you have marketable fighter versus marketable fighter. They've never done that. Never. Not once. Absolutely not once. Now, if I'm wrong about that, put it in the comments because, you know, I could be wrong, but I don't think that you're going to find any examples that I'm forgetting. You know, Conor versus Eddie Alvarez. First example, Conor, obviously is Conor. Eddie Alvarez at the time, not marketable. Okay. Dillashaw against Triple C. At the time, TJ marketable, Triple C not. Or you could say neither. At the time, Triple C, that was his first fight where he did the Triple C. Then you've got you got Israel Adesanya against Jan Blachowicz. Do I need to lay that one out? DC against Stipe. Do I need to lay that one out? Right? That's what it is. Jon Jones versus Cyril Gane. That's what it is. One guy marketable, the other one not. And they got to like the matchup too. So that fight's not going to happen. But if they both just completely clear it out, maybe they do a super fight at some point. But I seriously doubt it for that reason, especially because the fight is likely to be a stoppage. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's what I got for today. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Bye-bye.